so Hugh. So happy to sell them us full ears. Today we're going to dive into something pretty fundamental, actually. It's about AI, artificial intelligence, and where it actually runs.
Right. Is it happening inside your phone?
Yeah.
Your computer?
Yeah, exactly. Or is it all happening somewhere out there in the cloud? And look, this isn't just some techie detail.
No, not at all.
It really changes things, like how fast your apps feel, how private your information stays.
And who's sort of in control,
Definitely. So we looked at the latest news, the big announcements, to try and understand the shift and what it really means for you.
And it really is this interesting, tug of war, isn't it? Between having AI smarts right there on your device versus tapping into this, huge AI power somewhere else remotely.
Like having a little AI assistant living in your pocket versus calling up a super brain.
Exactly. And think about those cloud numbers. You mentioned ChatGPT web searches hitting over 1 billion a week back in April.
Yeah, wild statistic. It just shows how much we currently lean on that cloud power.
It really does.
Yeah.
1 billion searches. That scale is massive. But that's also why it's so interesting to see companies like Microsoft and Apple, too, making these big pushes to put AI capabilities right onto our devices.
Right.
So, okay, thinking back, AI has mostly been a cloud thing for a while, hasn't it?
Right.
Why was that the case? And why is it starting to, shift now?
Yeah, you're spot on. Historically, it really came down to sheer processing power, the kind of computation needed for complex AI.
Just too much for a phone or laptop.
Way too much, usually. The cloud offered, well, almost limitless computing resources. Plus, you get the benefit of constant updates to the AI models running there.
Okay.
But the change now is, well, the chips inside our own devices, our phones, our computers, they've become incredibly powerful. Powerful enough now to actually handle some pretty significant AI tasks right there locally.
And that's where this whole on-device AI trend kicks in. So let's talk players. Apple made a splash with Apple Intelligence back in June 2024. What's their angle? What are they trying to do there?
Well, Apple seems to be going for a kind of hybrid approach.
Hybrid.
Yeah, meaning they're trying to intelligently split the AI work. Some of it happens on your iPhone or your iPad or Mac.
Okay.
And some might still go to their own servers, but their big selling point, their core idea seems to be privacy.
Privacy. That makes sense for Apple.
Totally. They understand people are getting more concerned about where their data is going. So by doing more processing on the device...
They send less personal info out.
Exactly. Less data leaves your control. And you can see this reflected in their hardware strategy, too. Remember the M3 Ultra chip they announced March 2025?
Vaguely, yeah. Powerful chip.
Insanely powerful. Hugely boosted CPU, GPU, and they doubled the neural engine part. That's a massive investment specifically for running AI on the device.
So they're building the muscle for it right into the silicon. But I heard something else, too, that they might be looking at integrating other AIs, like in Safari.
That's right. There are reports, pretty credible ones, suggesting they're considering letting users choose other AI options within Safari.
Like who?
Well, names like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Perplexity, Anthropic's Claude have been mentioned.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, embedding those potentially right into the browser, that would be a big shift, wouldn't it? Giving you more choice for AI-powered search and info.
It really would. Your device becomes more of a gateway, maybe. Interesting. Okay, so that's Apple hybrid, privacy focus, beefing up hardware, maybe opening up search. What about Microsoft? They've been talking a lot about the AI PC.
Yeah, Microsoft is really leaning into that Copilot plus PC idea. They announced that program back in May 2024.
And what does Copilot plus PC actually mean? Is it just a sticker?
Well, it's more than a sticker. It's basically a certification. It means the PC has a dedicated NPU, neural processing unit. It's a special chip specifically designed to run AI tasks really efficiently.
Okay, so specialized hardware, what does that actually do for the user?
The key takeaway is it enables stuff to happen instantly, right on your machine, without needing the internet. Think real-time language translation while you're on a call.
Oh, cool.
Or maybe automatic photo improvements that happen right away. No sending data off, waiting, getting it back. It's local.
I see. Faster, more private for those tasks.
Exactly. And we saw the first certified devices, their Surface Pro and Surface Laptop, launched in January 2025. But what's really telling is that at shows like CES, You saw all the other big PC makers, Acer, Dell, Lenovo, showing off their own Copilot Plus PC type devices.
So the whole industry is kind of jumping on board with this.
And it really looks like it. There's a strong belief that having this dedicated AI hardware inside computers is the way forward. And Microsoft's also looking at integrating 5G connectivity more tightly.
Why 5G?
Potentially to create a smoother bridge. You know, use the on-device NPU when you can, but seamlessly tap into cloud AI power via 5G when you need something more demanding. A bit of a hybrid approach too, maybe.
A dedicated AI chip inside the laptop. That feels like a pretty fundamental shift for PCs. Okay, who's left? Google. Giants in AI.
Yeah.
Where do they stand on this on-device versus cloud thing?
Google's strategy, it seems primarily focused still on their very powerful cloud-based AI. You know, the Gemini models.
Gemini?
Their CEO, Sundar Pichai, has even talked openly about wanting to get Gemini running on iPhones, maybe by summer 2025 through a deal with Apple.
Interesting. So they want their cloud AI everywhere, even on competitors' devices.
It really seems that way. It underlines their belief in delivering that cutting-edge AI from the cloud. They keep releasing more advanced tools for developers like Gemini 2.5 Pro, their deep research AI tool. It's all cloud-centric.
So let's focus on putting big AI models directly onto Android phones, for instance.
Well, we definitely expect to see more AI features built into Android and Chrome, for sure. Things like the AI-powered search enhancements in Chrome, multimodal stuff. They're bringing features closer to the user.
Okay.
But their core strength, their main push, still seems to be leveraging the sheer scale and power of their cloud infrastructure for the really heady AI lifting.
Got it. So different paths emerging. Apple's privacy-focused hybrid, Microsoft pushing dedicated AI hardware and PCs, Google doubling down on cloud dominance.
Right.
If you're a business or a developer, this sounds confusing. How do you decide where your AI should run? What are the big trade-offs?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there are several key things to weigh up. The first one is definitely latency, speed, immediacy.
How fast you get a response.
Exactly. If you need something instantly, like that real-time translation example, or maybe an augmented reality overlay, then doing the processing right on the device is almost always better. You skip the whole round trip to the cloud and back, no network delays.
Makes sense. On device for speed. But what if the AI task is, like, really, really complicated?
Well, that brings us to the second point. Computational resources and scalability.
Meaning how much power you need.
Right. For truly massive AI models or processing gigantic data sets, the cloud still reigns supreme. It offers practically unlimited computing power.
More than any single device could have.
Absolutely. And it's easier to scale up or down in the cloud as your needs change. Updating the models is generally simpler too. On-device hardware, even with NPUs, just has inherent limits on raw power.
Okay, so cloud for the heavy lifting, on-device for instant responses. What about the cost?
Yeah.
Is one cheaper than the other?
Cost is a big one.
Yeah.
It's complicated. On-device AI often means a bigger upfront investment, you know, buying devices with those specialized NPUs.
Right, the hardware costs more initially.
Potentially, yeah. But the argument is that your long-term running costs might be lower because you're not constantly paying for cloud processing time for every little task.
Ah, I see. Pay more upfront, potentially less over time.
Kind of. Cloud AI usually has a lower barrier to entry. You just pay as you go. But those costs can really add up, especially if your AI usage scales up significantly.
So the cloud bill could get pretty high.
It definitely can. And actually, some studies are starting to suggest that for ongoing, heavy AI use, processing locally, on the edge or on the device, can actually work out more cost-effective in the long run.
That's a really important point about the long-term view. Okay, next big factor, maybe the biggest for many people. Security and privacy.
Huge factor. And here, on-device AI generally has a significant advantage.
Because the data doesn't leave your device.
Precisely. Your personal information, sensitive business data, whatever it is, it stays local. That massively reduces the risk of it being exposed or misused somewhere out in the cloud.
Makes sense.
Of course, you still need good security on the device itself. That's crucial. But you're not sending the raw data out. With cloud AI, you're relying entirely on the security practices of your cloud provider.
Trusting them with your data, basically.
Essentially, yes.
Okay. And what about getting kind of stuck with one provider? Is that a risk?
Yeah, that's the issue of vendor lock-in. If you build your whole AI system heavily reliant on one specific cloud platform.
Like AWS or Google Cloud or Azure.
Right. It can become technically difficult and potentially very expensive to switch to a different provider later if you needed or wanted to.
So you lose flexibility.
You can, yeah. It's
Yeah.
something businesses really need to consider, that long-term flexibility versus maybe the convenience of using the cloud platform they're already familiar with.
Okay, so we've got speed versus power, initial cost versus running cost, local privacy versus cloud trust, and vendor lock-in. Lots to think about. Where's the market heading overall? Where's the money flowing?
Well, the trend seems pretty clear. There's huge momentum towards more processing happening closer to the user on the device, or what's called edge computing.
It computes.
Yeah, basically processing data near where it's generated rather than sending it all to a central cloud. And analysts like IDC are predicting massive investment there, something like $380 billion globally by 2028. Specifically driven by this demand for AI at the edge. So while cloud AI isn't going away, it's still incredibly important for many things. There's a definite strong push towards more local AI processing.
So it really doesn't sound like it's going to be strictly one or the other then, not just cloud AI or on-device AI.
No, absolutely not. I think that's the key takeaway. It's not an either or battle.
It's more of a blend.
Exactly. A blend, a hybrid approach. You see companies like Microsoft exploring that with 5G, potentially bridging the gap. You see Apple investing heavily in on-device chips, but also considering integrating third-party cloud AIs into Safari.
Right.
The smartest solutions, for most people and most businesses, will likely involve using both, leveraging the strengths of on-device processing for speed and privacy where possible, and tapping into the power of the cloud for the really complex stuff, or for accessing the latest, largest models. It'll be about finding the right balance for each specific situation.
5 seconds of silence.
So as you go about your day, using your phone, your computer, maybe think about this. Think about the technology that's already here and the stuff that's just around the corner. Where does that intelligence actually live? Does having that AI power right there, in your pocket or sitting on your desk, does that change how you feel about interacting with technology? And how do you weigh that trade-off, that instant access versus the potential privacy benefits? Does it shift your perspective on where AI is heading?